Good morning, Faith Family. Happy Tuesday. We're continuing to march toward that celebration of the risen Lord. And today we're looking at verse 4 of chapter 3. Now, yesterday, the concluding verse 3, Jesus made a statement that completely knocked Nicodemus back. And let's be honest, if we were hearing it for the first time, it would us too. He would simply say, unless you're born again, you cannot see the kingdom of God. And so Nicodemus, thinking like a logical, rational person, responds with a question. How can anyone be born when he is old? Nicodemus asked him. Can he enter his mother's womb a second time and be born? This is the first time, and it wouldn't be the last time, that Jesus made a statement that needed clarity, clarification, explanation. In some cases, he would speak in a parable, and his disciples would hear that parable, but instead of asking, they would talk among themselves, and they would debate back and forth until eventually Jesus would step in and say, you don't understand, or hey, why don't you ask me, and I'll explain this. And so in this case, Nicodemus, hearing in verse 3, you must be born again, thinking logically, asked the logical question, how can anyone be born when he's old? One thing, Nicodemus probably would have been advanced in age. And so he's thinking in terms of how can you enter into a mother's womb a second time? And he's thinking in the physical realm. Again, because he's a Pharisee, when he came to Jesus and he called him rabbi, he was probably expecting Jesus to add some requirements to the strict regimen that he already had in place, trying to keep the law, claiming to keep the law. But when Jesus said that, he switched everything from the purely physical realm into the spiritual realm. And that's exactly what Nicodemus isn't understanding. He's not making that connection. And like I said, he's not the first one, and he wouldn't be the last one. Which begs the question, and our author asked this question. He says, what's something that Jesus has said or that God has said in the Bible that you didn't quite understand? And then who is someone that perhaps you could talk to who would explain that to you? And I would just simply say, if that's the case, number one, maybe perhaps a good study Bible would be helpful for you. Also, there's numerous tools that are good Bible tools online that's not just man's opinion. It's good scriptural explanation, what we would call exegesis. It means it's coming out, the explanation is coming out of the text instead of eisegesis, which is where you force an answer or an explanation onto a text. And of course, Brother Aaron and myself, we're available. Brother Terry, any of our staff, very capable of answering questions. But the key is this. When it comes to the need, the truth, because Jesus said in verse 3, truly. In some translations, truly, truly, meaning that this is absolutely certain. You cannot see the kingdom of God unless you're born again. We need to have a true understanding of what that means to be born again, which we're going to continue looking at tomorrow with verses 5 through 8. So take time to look through that. Think about some questions you may have. Again, if you need to email one of us or if you need to call the office, we'd be happy to help guide you through to a good, solid answer in that. But in this case, let's keep following Nicodemus' thinking. Let's keep following with his struggle, because eventually it's going to lead us to one of the most famous verses in all the scriptures. And you know what I'm talking about. John 3:16. So until then, live sent.